Welcome back to JA Economics for Success Session 2, Choose Your Success. In today's activity, the students are going to be playing a game that illustrates the correlation between education and the workforce. To prep for the game, please make sure that you have the following items prepared. First of all, you need the game boards, one for each of the groups of students. And then you need the Choose Your Success cards. So for every sheet of cards, you want to tear them apart and put them either in a baggie or put a paper clip on them so that they're easily distributed to the students at the start of the game. You also want to prepare game packs where you put one of each of the game chips as well as a die in a baggie, so again it's very easily distributed at the time of the game. You are also going to be handing out the CD-ROMs at the end of today's session, so this also goes with session 2. To start off the activity today, you want to talk to the students a little bit about consequences. In the first activity, we talked about some choices and how choices are going to be harder as we get older. And we want to just start off today with talking about consequences and the importance of carefully considering our long-range choices because they are going to have an impact for us in the future. Today's activity is where you're going to split the students into 6 groups, and it's always great to ask your classroom teacher to help you divide the students into groups because they know what students work well together and what students do not. This game is a little bit tricky to explain. It's a lot of fun to play. So what I would do before you split the students into small groups, make sure that you share the directions of the games with the whole class, and then once they're in their small groups, reiterate those instructions. The way this game is played is where, first of all, the students are going to use page 7 of the student workbook as their score-keeping sheet. So that's located in their workbook. So they're going to want to bring that with them to their small groups. We have a game called Choose Your Success, and this is an example of what the game board looks like. What you'll notice is that it's divided into 2 categories. First, you have the education path that's on the outside, and then you have the world of work, which is each one of these levels of triangles going this way. So what the students can do, the education path, if they are right here, they are a high school dropout. Once they get to this orange section, this is their high school diploma and they now officially have their high school degree. As they continue on, they can get a 2-year degree and then they can get a 4-year degree as well. So if at any point they go into the world of work, that's how much education they have. So if they go into the world of work in yellow, they are a high school dropout. If they go into the world of work as they're in the orange section, they have their high school graduation. If they're in purple, they have a 2-year degree, and if they're in the blue section, they have a 4-year degree. So the students always have 2 options. First of all, they can choose to go into the world of work, and if they were to choose to go into the world of work, they go to the first level, and then what they do, in order to get points, they have to answer a Choose Your Success card correctly. So they would then have a fellow player read the card, and if they get it right, they get that amount of points, and if they get it wrong, they stay where they are, but they do not get to record any points. The points are found with that level. So for example, they would get 5 points if they got it correct. The student could also choose to roll the die. So if the student rolls the die, and they need to move however many spaces on the education path. So this person got a 4. So they would then read the scenario on this space and do whatever it says. Once all the group members have the opportunity to do a gameplay, it starts back over with the first person, and they again have the opportunity to make a decision. So the person in red has the choice to either continue on in the world of work and try to advance levels by answering a question correctly, or they can choose to go back to their nearest pillar and continue their education. So this person could choose to go back to school and get a better education, so they would go back to the starting point, they'd roll the die, and then they would advance the steps. Likewise, this second person also has the opportunity to either choose to continue to get their better education by rolling the die, or they can choose to go into the world of work and try to get points and advancement via answering a question correctly. So everybody throughout the entire course of the game have those 2 options. A couple things to note: if they get a 6 on their first round, this spot tells them that school has become too difficult and that they need to move to level 1 in the world of work. and they get points. Some volunteers have a problem with this because it's not really encouraging students to drop out of school, but it's forcing them basically to. So you can choose as the volunteer if you'd like them to do that. What I always do is I always talk to the students about what would be some life situations that would happen that would maybe create or force somebody to drop out of school. And then to talk about what their options might be, if maybe they have to take a little break, could they come back, etc. So that's one thing to just consider. What you'll notice is that once they hit a pillar, they get specific points. I always talk about that being your high school graduation. So they get 25 points when they're right here. They only get that one time. And again, I say you only have one high school graduation party. So even if they were to advance and then decide to go into the world of work and try to go back, they would still only get those points one time. What you'll notice as you go through is that obviously the more education you have, the more points you can earn once you do advance into the world of work. And sometimes the students recognize that and sometimes they do not. Again, they can be recording their points along the way in their workbook. The game asks them to play 9 rounds, and again, you need to check to make sure that you have time for that, so just be gauging your time in your classroom to make sure you have enough time for them to complete as many rounds as possible. There is a summary and review, and after you have the opportunity to have the students kind of tally up their points, you can talk a little bit about some of the consequences of the game by looking at the bullet points found in the summary and review section of your curriculum guide. What I always like to talk about is the importance of continued education, that even if you have your 4-year degree, you continue to learn. Learning is a lifelong process, so be sure to share with the students how you have continuing ed in your industry and maybe what's required. It's always also really good, once in a while, a high school dropout might win the game. And so of course at Junior Achievement we want to strive to have all the students not be high school dropouts. But we do really want to talk to them about that they need to make the decision that's right for them. So it might not be right for everybody to get a 2-year degree or to get a 4-year degree, etc. They need to do what's right for them, but we absolutely want to encourage everybody to get their high school diploma. One thing I do, if that does happen in my class, I like to talk about deferred gratification and how in this instance they might have been able to win the game because others were in school and maybe couldn't get as many working points or be in the workforce that soon. But what about 10 years down the line? What about 15 turns down in the game? Would they still be at the top? And so that's one way I get around that, is just talking about deferred gratification and how oftentimes it looks very rewarding right now, but to again be thinking about the consequences in their future. We absolutely want to encourage students to stay in school. The last thing that you can do if you have time is on the bottom of their page 7, there is some average annual salaries that the students can take a look at. And sometimes it's really shocking for the students to really recognize the differences of some of the different education grounds. And again, we don't want to say that in order to be successful you have to have a specific level of education, but we absolutely want the students to get their high school diploma, and we absolutely want them to consider what's best for them. Enjoy the session.